his body language says it all. He's all closed off, like he's trying to shrink into himself. Doesn't make any eye contact with the interviewer at all. Clearly, he's still hurting deep down. And if you're still figuring out who Justin Bieber is talking about here, this cutout will help you understand the context. But if you remember, Justin had a pretty good relationship with P. Diddy once upon a time. At least it looked like so here.
Go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay, I get the mansion?
Yeah.
So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
Then what really happened that changed everything between them and took Justin to this situation? What are the dark chapters? And is it only Justin, or are there others who also had this unfortunate dark experience? We will find out in today's video. P. Diddy is now making back-to-back headlines for all the bad things he did in his over-the-top Diddy parties. You know the ones, celebrities like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kim Kardashian, and a bunch of other A-listers would show up to these exclusive wild gatherings. They were famous for their luxury and insane vibes, but these parties weren't just about fun and drinks. They were allegedly sex parties with drugs, coercion, and some pretty disturbing behavior. And the most shocking part, even minors got caught up in it, with some attendees allegedly being drugged and forced into things against their will. You know, in our society, these things are called assault, molestation, and rape. Chances are, Justin was one such victim of this. Remember when Justin Bieber first blew up and suddenly almost everyone started hating him? But do you remember why? If you think back, a lot of it started when people in the US began noticing Justin acting out. Reckless driving, messing with drugs, fighting with the media, you name it. He became an easy target, and the internet wasn't kind. Memes and jokes about him spread like wildfire. But here's the thing. Turns out, Justin wasn't just some rebellious teen. He became an easy victim of something way darker. Usher was the guy who first discovered Justin as a prodigy talent and mentored him. And Usher was in touch with P. Diddy, because he was signed to Diddy's label, Bad Boy Records, and they were pretty close. Now, this is where it gets weird. There's a video showing Usher introducing 15-year-old Justin to Diddy and leaving him with him for 2 days. At the time, Justin looked thrilled, as if he were living the dream.
I've been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
Going crazy.
Crazy.
But what really went down during those 48 hours? Nobody knows. Fast forward 2 years, and there's another video of Justin when he was 17, meeting Diddy again. Except this time, Justin seemed a bit off. He looked uncomfortable, and Diddy kept pressing him, asking why he hadn't been in touch, giving a really awkward vibe. Rumors say Diddy invited Justin to his parties where shady stuff happened, things like underage drinking, drugs, and even worse. Justin, being young and possibly intoxicated, might not have fully realized what was going on. Khloe Kardashian even mentioned seeing Justin at one of those parties. It's a lot to take in, but if this is true, it completely changes how people should view Justin's past. Nobody really knows what happened after that event, but it messed Justin up big time. To deal with it, he started drinking and acting out, and soon people around him began to hate him for it. The interesting thing is, there was this podcast later where the show host asked Usher if he'd let his son go to a Diddy party, and Usher straight up said no.
Dad, now, would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
It makes you wonder, if Justin was just 15 at the time, why did Usher even bring him to one of Diddy's parties? No wonder that has caused eternal damage in Justin's psychology. He's still visibly shaken up and has been isolating himself. So here's the real question. What exactly happened to him in those 48 hours, or in Diddy's party? What do you think? And if Justin Bieber is in this situation in just 1 or 2 meetings, imagine what Diddy's ex, Cassie, had to go through. Back in 2005, Cassie Ventura met Diddy for the first time. She was just 19 and he was 37. Still, they hit it off, and their relationship lasted a whole 14 years. From the outside, it seemed pretty solid. But trust me, it was nothing like that. Cassie was actually ready to walk away from this relationship a lot sooner, like in 2018. The whole time, Diddy had been using his power to control her, like a puppet on a string. At first, she looked up to him and saw him as a mentor or even a father figure, but over time, he took control of almost every part of her life, including how she looked and what she did. Things got worse when he started pressuring her into sex and using drugs and alcohol to manipulate her. But in 2019, Cassie finally made the tough decision to break free from him, cutting all ties to protect herself. It took her 4 more years to finally speak out about everything. At first, Diddy's lawyer tried to brush it off, claiming Cassie was just trying to destroy his reputation and get some money. But then, out of nowhere, Diddy agreed to settle the lawsuit, paying her $30 million in a single day. But now, Cassie Ventura is hitting back with a lawsuit accusing him of rape and years of physical abuse. She filed the suit in Manhattan federal court, saying that when they met in 2005, he started controlling her and treating her horribly. According to her, he drugged her, beat her up, and even forced her to have sex with male prostitutes while he filmed it. There are also some pretty brutal stories in the suit, like one in 2009 where he allegedly kicked her in the face so hard that she bled. Then he even locked her in a hotel room, and another in 2018 where he supposedly raped her. Things got even crazier when a 2016 hotel video surfaced recently. It clearly showed Diddy dragging Cassie back into a room after she tried to get away, but later he paid $50,000 to the hotel to delete the video. Cassie, who broke up with him in 2019, is now focused on her family and fighting for justice for all the trauma he gave her. And it's not just about one story. Remember when he was in a relationship with Jennifer Lopez too? Yes, J-Lo herself. Turns out she's another name tied to Diddy's messy past. With all these files on Diddy being reopened and the recent police raid at his place, everyone's now taking a closer look at his relationship with Jennifer Lopez from back in 1999 to 2001. And Jennifer also opened up about feeling betrayed in that relationship. Luckily, she wasn't physically assaulted like Cassie, but she admitted it was a tough time for her. She felt disrespected and downright uncomfortable.
I mean, I was never in a relationship where I got beat up, thank God, but I've definitely been manhandled.
Fast forward to now, her new album, which she says is inspired by her love story with Ben Affleck, has some playful nods to her past romances. And guess what? Fans and even her close circle think she might be subtly calling out Diddy, aka Sean Puffy Combs, in the mix. J-Lo was already on edge, thinking Diddy might be playing her. The arguments between them got heated and things started to turn worse. Turns out, Diddy couldn't let go of his ex, Kim Porter. On top of that, there were some whispers about him getting a little too friendly with some guys in the music industry. Yeah, you heard that right. Those rumors were flying around.
A little bit, you know, Jennifer, she's definitely a bad chick, but I was still in love with Kim, you know what I'm saying? So I couldn't marry Jennifer if I was still in love with Kim.
Now, J-Lo wasn't about to sit there and let it all slide. She knew she had to cut him loose for her own peace of mind. Plus, their time together wasn't smooth either. Take this one wild night in 1999. They were at a club with friends when Diddy decided to fire a gun inside. And absolute chaos broke out. The police showed up and both of them got arrested. Luckily, J-Lo's charges were dropped almost immediately. Diddy eventually got cleared too, but by then, J-Lo was done with him. She walked away, and honestly, if she hadn't done that back then, she couldn't be this J-Lo she is now. But don't think Diddy stopped at just grooming, sex trafficking, racketeering, and physical abuse. I hope you remember what happened to Tupac Shakur. Let me take you back to the night of September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas. Tupac, the rapper, was watching a Mike Tyson boxing match, and here he accidentally bumped into Orlando Anderson, a guy he'd already had beef with before. Naturally, they got into a little fight there in the hotel lobby. And yeah, it was all caught on the hotel security camera. After that, Tupac and his buddy Suge Knight headed over to Club 662 and met up with Keith Davis. They even clicked a photo together. Later, on their way back, they got stuck at a red light on the Las Vegas Strip. Suddenly, a white Cadillac shows up from somewhere, pulls over beside Tupac's car, and starts shooting at them brutally. Tupac took multiple hits and was rushed to the hospital, but despite hanging on for 6 more days, he never woke up from the coma. His lungs were too badly damaged. Naturally, after this shootout, Orlando Anderson became the main suspect, especially because of that earlier fight with Tupac. But not long after, Orlando was killed too. The police then arrested Keith Davis, who was in the car when Tupac got shot, and blamed everything on him. But the twist in this story was revealed a whopping 27 years later. Duane Keith D. Davis, a gangster from California and also Orlando's uncle, admitted he was in the white Cadillac car when Tupac was shot, and the guy who pulled the trigger, that was Baby Lane. But after getting arrested, Keith D. dropped a bombshell claiming that it was not about Orlando at all, but it was revenge for a $1 million bounty that Diddy supposedly put out on Tupac and Suge Knight's heads. But the question is, why would Diddy do anything like that? Well, there's a story behind it. In the 90s and early 2000s, a fierce rivalry started between the East Coast and West Coast rap scenes, centered around New York City and Los Angeles. This feud extended beyond music to culture, status, and industry power, which led to diss tracks, fights, and violence. Now, Tupac Shakur represented the West Coast, while Diddy was a major figure from the East Coast. In 1994, Tupac was shot during a robbery in Midtown Manhattan, losing $40,000. He later accused Diddy and Biggie of knowing about the attack, which they denied. This accusation deepened the feud, with some even speculating that Diddy wanted Tupac harmed during the robbery. Then, one day, a journalist asked Diddy straight up about the whole situation on camera. Did he confirm that he killed Tupac? Of course not, but he didn't deny it either. Instead, he said this.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And that reveals a lot, doesn't it? So, with P. Diddy now arrested, all these dark pasts are piling up back to back, and fans are getting pretty fired up. But not only at Diddy, also at celebs he had close ties with, like Beyonce. Beyonce hasn't said anything about this. People are flooding her Instagram with accusations and conspiracy theories like this. And her silence isn't helping her reputation right now. But how did Beyonce even get tangled up in all this drama? That's a long story. It all goes back to Diddy when he became this huge music mogul in the 90s after leaving Uptown Records and starting his own label, Bad Boy Records. He signed artists like Maze, Faith Evans, the legendary Notorious B.I.G., and Jazzo. Jazzo was the one who mentored a young Jay-Z whose debut album, Reasonable Doubt, featured Biggie. Sadly, Biggie was murdered not long after that album dropped, which had a huge impact on Jay-Z's next album, In My Lifetime Volume 1. And yes, Diddy was involved in that project too. The two kept working together on Diddy's No Way Out album. In 1997, Diddy hosted what he called the biggest hip-hop show ever, with Jay-Z and Usher, and their bond just kept growing from there. Both of them turned into major business players. Meanwhile, in the early 2000s, Jay-Z started dating Beyonce, and Diddy already knew her from her early days in the industry. When Beyonce went solo in 2003, her career skyrocketed. She worked with Diddy on the track Summertime. Over the next few years, Beyonce and Jay-Z became this unstoppable power couple, with Diddy often in the mix, supporting them through personal and public challenges like Hurricane Katrina and the 2009 biopic Notorious. So, no doubt Beyonce knows a lot about Diddy and his whereabouts. But Beyonce's silence is only making things more mysterious. Is she afraid of Diddy or something else? Or is it because she also has blood on her hands, just like P. Diddy? Tell us in the comment section. What do you think?